This week is the start of the final chapter of an 18-month evolutionary process that has been unfolding since early 2025. Over the past year, the feminine energy has been evolving by opening the field, by sensing the vision and feeling the deeper truth of where life wants to move. She's learning to trust that inner knowing without trying to force it into form. And at the same time, the masculine has been going through a purification process, releasing control, overthinking, and the attempt to manage life through effort. And now something is beginning to shift in how these two energies, how these two polarities relate to each other. Mars is now meeting the North Node in Pisces, and in a few days we have the Pisces new moon, and together these moments mark the start of the final chapter of the Pisces Virgo cycle. In this video, I want to zoom out and look at the larger story behind what is happening now and why this moment may feel like the masculine energy is finally beginning to align with the feminine vision. Hi, I'm Hanneke and welcome to this energy update for Twin Flames and Divine Counterparts. On March 13th, Mars conjuncted the North Node in Pisces, and in a few days, on March 19th, we will have the new moon in Pisces. But they are part of a much larger collective energy that's going on. So let's look into the Pisces Virgo nodal axis, which began in January 2025 and will continue until July 26, 2026. So on January 11, 2025, the North Node entered Pisces and the collective evolutionary direction shifted from the Aries-Libra axis towards the Pisces Virgo. Every nodal axis carries a specific evolutionary invitation, and the invitation of Pisces Virgo is very clear. Release Virgo's tendency to control, analyze, or fix life through effort, and move towards Pisces qualities such as surrendering, intuition, compassion, and spiritual trust. In nodal cycles, the first months are rarely about concrete events. They are about the emergence of a new orientation of consciousness. Something begins to change in the field before it can fully take shape in reality. So these early parts of 2025 can be understood as the opening or vision phase of this cycle. It's interesting to look back on the past year and see how things evolved for yourself. And if you can recognize the pattern of what is happening in this Pisces Virgo axis. So you can ask yourself, what opened in the beginning of last year? Was there an awakening of something deeper, spiritually, emotionally, or energetically? Because Pisces dissolves boundaries, so you can begin sensing things that you could not explain, intuitive openings, spiritual recognition, maybe a deep soul connection activated you last year in that first few months. Or it can be moments where life suddenly feels guided by something larger than the mind. What happened is Pisces opened the fields of unity consciousness first, but your body or system, it does not yet know how to hold that field, and that is where Virgo enters the story. Virgo tries to understand it, to organize it, to analyze it, to manage it, and that tension became very visible during the first eclipse season of that axis in March last year. It was a start of a testing or reality phase. What was exposed were the old Virgo patterns that could no longer sustain life: control, hyperanalysis, trying to manage relationships, manage outcomes of relationships or life through efforts. Virgo represents the system that tries to keep life organized, and Pisces dissolves that system. So when these two interact, the result is often a period where strategies that used to work suddenly stop working. The mind could not solve everything anymore. Control could not produce the same results. Now, I don't know how you experienced this period, but for me, it definitely marked shifts in myself, in no longer wanting to go along with control tactics. I definitely received the soul's invitation to stop going along with whenever control showed up in my connection. So on the inside, you can feel this as an invitation to surrender more to life, to stop trying to force outcomes. But also in the physical reality, there has been an invitation in your relationships to not go along with anything that is based on control and fixing outcomes. This dynamic even deepened as the cycle moved further into its purification or descent phase. And that was especially during the second eclipse season. Key moments were the total lunar eclipse in Pisces on September 7th, 2025, and the partial solar eclipse in Virgo on September 21st, 2025. And this whole purification phase went on and on through the end of the year and in the beginning of 2026, finally closing with a total lunar eclipse on March the 2nd or 3rd, 2026. These eclipses reveal the karmic patterns. They expose what has been operating underneath, and they bring to the surface what can no longer remain unconscious. So you could say that what has been exposed were the patterns that were in the way of living from intuitive alignment and from trust. These past 6 months were all about the masculine energy learning to listen to the feminine intelligence of life itself. The masculine energy learning to stop forcing direction through control and really learning to move from intuitive alignment. And then on March 13, 2026, Mars crossed the North Node in Pisces at 8 degrees Pisces. And this is a very important moment because Mars represents life force, instinct, and the impulse to move forward. The North Node represents the direction of evolution. And when Mars meets the North Node, instinct aligns with evolution. The node shows where life is trying to go, and Mars provides the energy that pushes events and decisions towards that direction. But what makes this conjunction particularly interesting is that the evolutionary direction is Piscean, not martial. Mars normally operates through clarity and assertion and direction, and it acts through willpower and forward movement. But Pisces is a completely different environment. Pisces dissolves boundaries and operates through subtle signals rather than clear structures. So when Mars enters this space and meets the North Node, the masculine impulse cannot operate in its usual way. Instead of leading through control or strategy, it must learn to move through resonance. And that is why the Mars North Node conjunction feels less like decisive external action, and it can feel more like an inner realignment of direction. And something within you might recognize that the old way of navigating your life is no longer viable. And instead, instinct begins orienting towards Pisces qualities like surrender, emotional truth, intuitive guidance, and spiritual alignment. And symbolically, this is the moment when the masculine energy stops trying to control the ocean and begins listening to its currents. So the past year, the eclipses revealed what no longer worked, but this Mars North Node conjunction is the moment where the life force itself changes direction. The masculine instinct stops fighting reality and begins to move with it. So this is why this ignition, this conjunction can be seen as the beginning of the end of the Pisces Virgo story. It's the beginning of its final phase. Now that direction has been activated, this cycle moves into its integration arc. The months between March and July 2026, these themes will begin translating into real-life decisions and real movement. We will really start to recognize where control must be released, where intuition can be trusted and where effort can be replaced by alignment. And the Pisces new moon of March 19th will act as the bridge between this ignition and the embodiment of it. New moons always mark the beginning of a new lunar cycle, but this one carries a very particular role because of where it happens in the zodiac and where it sits in the nodal storyline. So this new moon occurs in the final degrees of Pisces right before the sun enters Aries at the equinox. And that means that it is not only the beginning of a lunar cycle, but it is also closing a much longer Piscean process that has been unfolding throughout the entire nodal cycle. So you could say that this new moon functions like a clearing of this Piscean ocean before the energy will shift into the forward movement of Aries. Now, what does that mean for the masculine and feminine energy? This Mars ignition activates the masculine impulse to move, but because it happens in Pisces, that movement cannot come through force and it must follow intuition. And at the same time, the new moon clears the feminine field of emotions and perception, allowing intuition to become quieter, clearer, and easier to trust. Now, this is really important, so I'm going to repeat it. What is happening is the Mars ignition activates the masculine energy to move, but it is not through force, but it must follow intuition. That is what is happening. And then with a new moon, it clears the feminine field, it clears the emotions. The field becomes clearer, quieter, easier to trust. And when the feminine field receives the masculine impulse, then we can start acting from alignment. Now, that might sound very abstract or technical or whatever, but the way that this can show up can be very subtle, but it's an extremely important shift. The way that you can experience this is we often feel emotions, love, sadness, anger, grief, and they move through our system. Now, instead of reorganizing our life around these emotions, we start to hold our direction. We hold it from alignment, from trust. And yes, we can feel old emotions, we can feel old patterns maybe resurface, but we stay in our truth. We hold our direction that is aligned with our soul, with our truth. So we move through life and we are open and we digest what comes along through thoughts and emotions. That is the feminine energy that is being open for life. We can hold whatever is moving through us, and the masculine energy won't be fazed by this anymore. He can remain present with what is moving through you and still remain aligned with the direction. So that is what the integration phase of the Pisces Virgo cycle is teaching, not to eliminate emotion, but to allow the heart to feel while the direction of your life stays rooted in your truth, without control, feeling and still managing your life. Have you felt the ignition the past couple of days? Because we can still feel it, of course. How is that expressed in your life? For me, I felt these sudden impulses to do stuff that my mind would say, don't do that. But I just did them anyway, and they felt amazing, and they actually led to the next step and the next step that are part of my soul's alignment. And it really feels like life is finally starting to move forward after these heavy and dense months. And yes, the past is still resurfacing sometimes because Mercury is still retrograde. And it's still inviting us to revisit old emotions. But there's really this collective energy right now that helps us to feel it and let it move through us and just really stay aligned with the direction of our soul. About a month ago, I actually created this meditation that is named Choosing the World You Live In. And it's freely available on my Substack. If you're not on Substack yet and you're interested in that, please check it out, because it's a meditation where I express the world that I choose to live in, the world that I choose to build. And it's really this feminine energy that is holding the vision, building life from the inside out, and inviting the masculine to align with that. Not building life anymore from fear-based control, but really just align on a daily basis with this beautiful vision that you have for yourself. Well, this meditation is based on my vision, but I really think that a lot of people will recognize themselves in it. But of course, you can create your own. If you want to listen or use mine to align with daily, then check out my Substack. The meditation is called Choosing the World You Live In, and it's free. There's one thing that I want to touch here, because I feel that it's been coming up lately in conversations, and that is the idea that in unity consciousness, there is no masculine or feminine energy, and that there is only oneness. And at the level of pure consciousness, that is true. In the highest sense of reality, there is only unity. But the journey towards embodying that unity in human life, it happens through the integration of polarities. We live in a world of polarity, day and night, inhale, exhale, movement, stillness, masculine and feminine energies. They are an expression of that universal dynamic. So when we talk about integrating masculine and feminine within ourselves, we are not moving away from unity consciousness. We are learning how unity expresses itself through polarity. In other words, union is not the absence of polarity. Union is what happens when polarities come into coherence with each other. And if you can skip this part, this coming into coherence, then great. If you can just move to unity consciousness without having this integration process, I don't believe that's possible. Yes, we can reach it in a peak state, but if we really want to live it day by day, we really need to integrate these polarities. What happens is we open up to that beautiful state of union consciousness, and then we integrate it. We open up more, and then we integrate it into our body and our system. We open up more, and then we integrate it again. And that's how we evolve or ascend. And the next couple of weeks and months really are the integration phase of this entire Pisces Virgo cycle. What follows from March through the early summer is the period where everything that was activated begins to translate into our reality. And that is exactly why I chose this moment to open my Sacred Union course. It opens next Saturday on March 21st, which is also my birthday. And it is a 3-month journey that is designed to help you stabilize and embody what has been activated the past year. It's a course that helps you move from awakening to embodied sacred union, where you gradually learn to integrate the masculine and feminine energies within your own system and supporting them to come into coherence, so that you can start to live from that beautiful state of sacred union from the inside out. The next couple of months, starting from the equinox, really are the best window to consciously commit to your own integration process. We're really being supported on a collective level. For the moment, there's a special launch price, but the price will go up as soon as the doors open on March 21st. So if you want to join, then now is your chance to join with a discounted rate. And with this course, there is also a full year of membership of my Substack included. So it's not just a 3-month journey, it has a whole year of continuing support for your journey and your chance to connect with other people on the journey and share experiences, share best practices. I'm starting to sound very salesy here. But I am so excited about this course because it really has all of the information that I learned from my own journey, from working with clients, from my studies. And I wish I had known all of this a long time ago. And I just want to share it with all of you because, yes, this is an incredibly intense journey. But once we have the right support and the wisdom and tools to integrate everything, it will become a lot lighter. That intense fears that are holding you back, you will be able to just look at them, observe them, and they will not hold any power anymore over your life. When you would have told me 5 years ago that I would be making YouTube videos, I would just really have looked very strangely at you and laughed like, no. Or that I would have this online community where I guide people and share my own experiences, that I would write 2 books and share these incredibly personal but extremely beautiful experiences with the world. I would just really be stunned. I would not believe it. That's what this journey does. That's what it changes in our life. It brings out everything that we're supposed to be living. It's really the soul saying, now this is really happening. Move through it. Become the best version of you. And of course, we are always a work in progress. And who knows what the next 5 years will look like. What I'm saying is, if you feel that you've been awakened and you feel like now is the time that you're choosing you, now is the time that you are devoting your time and energy towards you, then I would really, really love to welcome you in my Sacred Union course. If you want to know more about Sacred Union and Kundalini activation, or about what actually Sacred Union is, if you want to know, am I on this journey? Where am I on this journey? You can watch my playlist that is called What is Sacred Union? I will put it up at the end of this video, so you can just click it if you're interested. If you found this video in any way helpful, please leave a comment. I would love to hear, or like or subscribe. It really helps to spread the content. But I always love it when you share your experiences so everybody can just really see and learn from each other, support each other in this quite intense journey sometimes. I'm sending you a lot of love. Bye.